leveled at 227. Read it again, wide open throttle, 929. Communications, test mode, manual, 1. Yep, I'm working. Back to 0, characteristic curve test. Oops, sorry guys. And I'll wait a couple seconds. Oh, and the other thing you notice too, if any of the teeth were stripped, and here you would see the throttle plate jump when it's moving through, and it's very common, you know. Fortunately, you can't buy replacement gears. Oh yeah, and also if you've got a bad throttle position sensor, you can't buy them. You got to buy a throttle plate.
Can I run into one with a throttle plate shaft broken?
I've never seen the plate shaft broken, but the shaft that comes off of the gear into the throttle position sensor, I've seen it twist and break. But the first 3 or 4 teeth in the gear, I'd see them broken all the time.
Somebody make them aftermarket?
I don't think anybody wants the liability.
Yeah.
You know, and the reason for the lash, and you know, they're Delrin gears, right? But the reason for the lash is it's a non-lubricated environment, right? They have to be sloppy, temperature changes and things. And I don't think anybody, if you try to tighten up the gear, you're creating an issue. And you know, somebody, throttle sticks, oops, you know. So I don't think anybody wants to dive into that yet. There have been a lot of guys that have talked about it. I've been asked to make them in my machine shop. Not only out of Delrin, but brass, manganese bronze. Several companies asked me to do it, and I don't want to mess with it. Honestly.
Someone told me that the reason they came out with it was because it was twisting cranks. People were gassing it at the wrong time. Is that why they did the fly-by-wire? Or they just want to be cool?
You know, that logic makes sense to me, I guess. That would also be a reason why they did the throttle progression the way that they did. You know, when you snatch it, the throttle plate doesn't open all the way until, you know, things start rolling.
I've had people,
I couldn't speculate on that, but that makes sense.
I just had people like, I thought maybe it was because of the 6-speed, but I've had people where they complain and they're in 6th gear trying to pass somebody on the highway, and it's like, it's running like crap, and I'm like, well, drop a gear, because the computer's telling you can't do it, you know, and it won't let the throttle, it won't let the plates open.
Well, and you know, they're running 60 miles an hour in a 0.86 gear ratio on an engine that makes 80 horsepower. I mean, it ain't a damn rocket by no means, you know. So I agree with you, drop it a gear. And if you really need to go, drop it another one, you know. So,
will that graph show you if you got a broken tooth?
yes, it will. You'll see here, it'll jump around, okay? If you have...
If it's jumping around, that automatically means broken tooth, or can it be 50 things?
Well, here's the funny part. It doesn't matter, because if it's a broken tooth, or it's a bad throttle position sensor, you got to replace the throttle body anyway. But to answer your question, what you'll see here, the skips here, is almost always a broken tooth. Okay? Here, when you see variances and you see wide separations in the chart, that's actually not one line. That's 5 lines packed together. Okay? And we've run 5 tests, and that's what this chart is representing. You're just seeing, since that's a good throttle body, you're seeing all 5 of them on top of each other. Okay? So if you had something like say a broken, you mentioned the plate shaft. If you had a broken shaft, it's going to be different every time it opens and closes. So you'll see one over here and one over here. Or if you've got a bad throttle position sensor, you'll see the big variances in the voltages. So what we're seeing is 5 tests. If you saw 2 or 3 different lines in there that are radically apart from each other, then it's either a throttle position, it's something. You know, it's one of the two. The only way to know for certain is to either actually check the voltages or pop the cover off the side of it. So, but once you see that, if you're seeing all those different lines and all those other things, then you know it's a problem. Change the throttle. Now, a lot of people ride with those broken teeth and they don't know it. That's why they won't even know it's there. But when you take a system that's this precise, and it's an alpha end system where throttle position is critically important, an accurate throttle position reading, then they'll feel it. And it's not just our system. If you put anybody's in, you know, that had a broken tooth, you're making performance enhancements and you're trying to tune, and essentially you lose the first 3 to 5% of your throttle position because of the tooth, and then it jumps and kicks you. You know, everybody chases their tail with that stuff.
Then you show the customer that they got a problem with the throttle body and it's under warranty, and they go to the dealer and the dealer says, well, they all do that, everything's fine. That guy don't know what he's talking about.
I get that. I get a lot of that. And then I pop the side cover off the throttle body and say, take that to your dealer and ask them if that's normal.
Oh, you're not supposed to do that, you're out of warranty.
At that point,
I know, but
you gotta fix it at that point. We've saved them the trouble of
Yeah,
taking
you're
off
either
the
gonna
throttle
get them
body.
to fix it, or you're gonna buy another one.
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue. Anyway, yes.
Is this test something that'll be out for twin scan for people that are still running stock ECMs
We actually have,
for diagnostic purposes?
I'll give you that so you can ask us to take a look. What I have here on the table, we sell that. So if you wanted something to test, and I've got a sheet here, I'll give one out to all you. Heck, y'all want to hand one out for me? Hector or Alan, please? This whole test apparatus that we have here, we do have available for sale. So, and we've got quite a few guys and companies in the throttle body business that
Without
have got
dropping your
from us.
ECM in it?
I'm sorry?
It's without dropping your ECM in it, it's a separate program?
Oh, it's entire, what you see here, it's entirely standalone. The only thing I would do is take, basically just plug it into their throttle body. Because what I have here is one of our ECMs, and essentially, you know, you'd have to provide your own twist grip, but that's no big deal. You would just plug it into the stock throttle body. It doesn't have to be hooked up to the computer, it doesn't matter. So it's literally a tool. You unplug the stock throttle body, plug our harness into it, and it's a standalone diagnostic tool to test the throttle bodies. Okay. All right, any questions? Yes?
As far as you've mentioned nitrous control, you guys have nitrous control in this?
Stage RPM limits, everything.
Yeah, so you could have a clutch activated 2-step.
Exactly. Okay. All right, so we went through that. That took, if I'd kept my mouth shut and kept going, that took us probably about, what, 2 minutes? Just to go through those quick steps and get those numbers. File, open file, choose my base map, estimated horsepower, key in the injector size, my RPM limit, 1 if I have automatic compression releases, and I hit OK.
what if you got manual on where you set it at?
Set it at 0. If you've got if you've got real high compression, use 1, 2, 3. You experiment with it. Okay. If you set it at 1 and you don't have automatics, they're not there. It's still going to switch in the ECM, but nothing's going to happen. You know what I mean? So it really use it for cranking revs at that point. All right. So we have our base map. We take a look at our 3D table. Look at our AFR table. Yeah, okay, it looks good. I would say start with what's there in the base map and change later. Check your